Hey fam, you ain't ready for this.
It's big money, big cars, big moves. It's muscle tone, brah, there ain't nothing to prove. The best breeds from the States to the outback. Keep your eyes peeled, guaranteed you gon' learn that. Beanstalk, big boss on lock. If a canine was God, it would be this dog.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another Muscletonebullys episode. Today we are discussing bloodlines. Now, bloodline is a very important topic today and I'm going to tell you guys why. One, I've been seeing a lot of people naming their line. One, they don't have a line, but naming a line after a particular dog. For example, I'm going to make up names here. Their dog's name is Buster and they call it Buster line. Or their dog's name is Domino's and they say Domino's line. There's no such thing. Okay, number one dog can't make a line. So naming a line after one dog is ridiculous. And I know back in the day it was done with Remy line. You know, Ed Shepherd used Dax line. He chose to call it that. To truth being said, one dog can't make a line. This doesn't make any sense. And even though it has been done in the past, people could do whatever they want. It just doesn't make it right. And I've seen this even in the AKC and I've seen it in many things. And I think that's the idea of people are so obsessed with wanting a line, not understanding what it takes to make one. So therefore, they just throw the word out there and they think if they say it enough, people will buy into it and believe it. And it actually works, believe it or not, but it isn't true. And for the experts who know better, they can look back and say, hey, you know what, dude, you don't really have a bloodline. That dog can't make a bloodline. One dog cannot be a line. I'll give you an example of bloodlines today in the American bully world. Razor's Edge, 100% a bloodline. Suarez Bull, bloodline. Midwest Monsters, Big Kev, bloodline. So these are just a few examples. Eminent bullies for sure, but today, bloodline. There's not that many, believe it or not. Muscletone, bloodline. So why are these bloodlines? Well, let me give you examples. Number one, they have their own look. You can recognize a Suarez dog. You can recognize a Midwest Monster dog. You can definitely recognize a Razor's Edge dog and a Muscletone dog, even though they're very close now because they've used a lot of Muscletone into his new generations because he stopped breeding for a while. But nevertheless, he brings it back to his old foundation. There's nothing wrong with outcrossing or bringing back stuff in that other people use. For example, Muscletone used a lot of Razor Edge to get where we are, so Dave wants some of it back and using, some of where we took our line to back into his. There's nothing wrong with that. He can do that because he's an established bloodline, so therefore he can leave and come back and continue being just a bloodline because he's already established a look and the years and generations behind it. So let's break it down. How many things it takes to make a bloodline? The first one is generations. It takes time. Okay, it took us over 15 years for us to declare ourselves a bloodline, and a good 10 years of straight consistent productions before we even said we're a bloodline. When I see people like 2 years in, a year in, or they buy one dog and they call themselves a line, you can't do that. You could do whatever you want, but it's not legitimate and it's not real. It's just a marketing scheme, I would call it. So 6 generations, top and bottom. Among the 6 generations, not only that you have the top and bottom 6 generations of your own productions, but as well as you have a consistent look at the end of it. So when you reach down generation 6, so 5 and 6 and 7, all your dogs look the same. They resemble each other. You can recognize one without, let's just say you attend the show, people know this is your work, even if you're not present. You can recognize a Muscletone dog almost anywhere you go. You can see Magoo trades. Rock and Ruby is a bloodline that was named after 2 dogs. It's not really a bloodline. It's more like a combination of 2 dogs. But you very often saw Rock and Ruby in 2 dogs, as you see Dax 2 dogs. So people said, oh, that's Dax line or that's Rock and Ruby. But that's not the case. What happened is the people who were actually breeding those particular dogs were very consistent in inbreeding and line breeding that particular combination. So therefore, eventually build a look. Naming it after these 2 dogs doesn't make it a line. And I'm going to tell you why. Because you hit a plateau without an outcross, and you hit it fast. So for example, if you kept breeding it back, let's say you took a male and a female from Rock and Ruby littermates. How many times can you breed them to each other? You're going to have to leave. You're going to have to outcross. You're going to have to breed to something else. And that's not the owner of these dogs or the kennel owner of those 2 dogs who is making the productions. Therefore, who owns the line? it gets lost, it gets confused, right? It gets completely deteriorated. And that's why you cannot name a line after one dog. Or two, it requires several dogs. Case by case, you cannot put a limit to it. I could tell you for Muscletone, it took at least 7 different line of dogs, which when I say line, I don't mean bloodlines, but I mean 7 different dogs that come from different ancestors for at least 4 or 5 generations. You might find some of their ancestors in common if you go past 6, 7 generations, but the majority, they were all completely different. Some of our dogs had what you called back in the day gray line, which was a bloodline. Some of our dogs you can find in our generation called Trojan line, which was a bloodline back in those days. I haven't heard from them in years. Razor's Edge was another one. Gaudy line was another one. So all of these were brought in together to create Muscletone along the years. Amongst these, there was other people's work. For example, a lot of the Razor Edge stuff wasn't done by Dave. Some of the Razor Edge stuff was done by people who had owned Razor Edge dogs and bred them and carried on the name. I don't consider that to be real Razor's Edge, and the reason for it is not done by Dave Wilson himself or his crew or his partners at the time, but by basic individuals who thought they can just use someone else's name to make a marketing for themselves and get more money for their pups. I don't allow that at Muscletone. We were the first ones to stop people from doing that, and the reason for it is because I don't want someone putting my name on a product I didn't produce. Even if it's a wonderful product, I want you to get the credit for it, because if it's not a wonderful product, I don't want the credit for it. So why should I take credit for what's good and not what's not good? That's not fair. So as long as my work and my partner's work, so if it's Piotr, Jacek in Poland, that it's Thomas and Ryan in the UK, if it's Jamie in Australia and Jerome, or if it's Alex in Russia, or if it's Michael and his family in Romania or in Sweden, that's not Muscletone. I mean, I can keep on with the list for all our partners in Japan and all that. So as long as it's not one of our partners producing the litter, or us, so it's not guided by Muscletone, it is not a Muscletone product. So you can buy 2 Muscletone dogs, for example, and you can breed them to each other, and you'll have the look that we produce, guaranteed. But that's your production. Those puppies carry your kennel name, and for you to build a bloodline, it's gonna take generations of that into making your own look out of using our line and maybe bringing in other lines or other dogs into the mix to create your own look to do so. Now, if you love the Muscletone look and you continue to breed the Muscletone look, that is no problem. That is a completely fine thing. And if you have enough generations behind your belt, you might eventually build a more tweaked look of Muscletone, as we have done here in the past. So that's on you. But at the end of the day, you're using Muscletone line, right? You're using Muscletone dogs to go on forward, but your kennel name has to be in front of those puppies because you did the production. You deserve the credit. We don't. It's your credit. We are grateful that we were able to help. We are grateful that we were able to pass on our DNA to you and help you grow. We have no problem with that. We're not a kennel who wants validation for everything that happens that goes down. That's not who we are. We didn't get where we are by doing that. I don't believe in that. I think that's egotistic and closed-minded. So, by all means, we're willing to help. I also don't want bad publicity when you are combining 2 dogs that I don't believe should be combined just because they come from Muscletone backgrounds. Sometimes it's too close. Some dogs produce certain things that should not be doubled up on or tripled up on or whatever on. These are formulas I know in my head that I don't have time to explain to everybody, and I really honestly, it would probably, most people wouldn't understand just because they weren't around long enough with me watching these dogs and watching our breeding program to comprehend why my brain works the way it does. Also, a lot of people don't know the information and knowledge I know on genetics, so it's even more difficult to explain, and I just don't have the time for it. So just take my word on it. If it's not paired by us, it's not Muscletone. We don't allow that. Please put your kennel name in front of it. I am sure that the other people who own bloodlines feel the same way, and if they don't, that's something you'd have to check with them if you're breeding with their dogs or their line. So that being said, that should sum things down to on how many true bloodlines there is out there. There isn't that many, especially extreme bloodlines. We are the only one. A lot of people breed XLs, a lot of people breed standards, a lot of people breed pockets. But the extreme class was something that was removed in 2016 or 17, I can't remember exact year, and made that all bullies should be an extreme substance. So what was considered extreme at the time was Magoo and Casablanca and Mr. Bean, which wasn't so big in my opinion. But at those times, they were considered extreme dogs. And at the ABKC, Dave Wilson, Ron Ramos at the time, who were writing the standard, said that, hey, all the dogs should look like these dogs. If these dogs can be champions and grand champions, then should every dog look like that? Because the idea of the extreme at that time was overdone, way high in the rear. I mean, it's supposed to say slightly high in the rear was acceptable, slightly longer back was acceptable, slightly this, slightly that, but people took advantage of it, and it was like all over the board. They were way out of proportion and way out of health, and that's why the whole standard was taken out. Instead of what I believe should have been done, is the judges should have been able to say, hey, slightly, not this is not slightly, this needs to go out. And the issue came down is that a lot of people were breeding unhealthy stock versus healthy stock just because they had a big freak. Don't get me wrong, I'm all about a monster, but there's a limit I like to draw on what I breed. So if it's an extreme dog and it has some flaws that are not handicaps, sure, we'll pass on those traits to the next generation and try to clean it up. But if it's a handicap, something that can affect the dog's life, no, I'm not breeding it. I don't care how much bone mass and head it has. I don't care if it has a 30-inch head. I don't care if it has bone that's 16 inches wide. I don't care if the dog is 24 inches in the chest. If the dog is completely handicapped and crippled and it passing it on, I'm not interested in breeding it. It's just not worth it's not worth what you're gonna harm the next production and the next set of puppies. You just don't want to see a puppy suffering and another offspring suffering just so that you can gain some mass and bone. That just ethically doesn't make sense to me. A lot of people say, oh, that's too bad, too big of a dog, that's not good, it's unhealthy. That is not true. At Muscletone, we care about health, number one, and we've proved it. We are the only ones to prove it. We have the longest living dogs. The most muscular, most massive dogs in the world are Muscletone dogs, and they happen to be the healthiest and longest living. And we've proved that through time and through numbers. So it's not just he say, she say. So a lot of people can run their mouth. We obviously have a clean, healthy program that's going on, and we do produce extreme monsters who live a very long time and function very well for a very long time. So I don't care what you hear and what people tell you, it isn't true, and we have the proof. So no one else has that behind their belt that can prove that. Dave might be the only other one, but he hasn't bred in a while. So, but most people don't have that. So that being said, I'm not saying that other dogs don't live a long time. A lot of nice bullies can live quite a bit of time, but they're not as massive and extreme as ours. So we've pushed our dogs to the max, but we didn't sacrifice health. So please stop repeating rumors or making comments on our posts when we post our big, massive dogs that they're unhealthy. It isn't true. You don't know what you're talking about. You're just repeating nonsense and thinking emotionally without any facts, scientific knowledge, or anything at all. So, that being said, going back to the concept of bloodline, this is an example of what a bloodline should be. So, for example, what we just discussed now, Muscletone bloodline. We have the most extreme dogs who live the longest. That is what our line is known for. We are known for extreme. We are known for health and longevity of life. We're also known for our chest spread. We have the widest chest, which is what an extreme is, wider than tall. We're also known for muscular mass. We've also known for our rears to match our front shoulders, which means we have the widest rears as well, since we have the widest fronts. We're also known for extreme shoulders and necks, and pretty much all overall muscular mass, and also for the largest heads. Since Yoshi and before that, Simba had a 27-inch head. He was an XL, but back in 2002, no one had a dog with a 27-inch head at 21 inches tall. So today, yeah, sure, we have pockets with those numbers and bigger, but at that time we didn't, and we continued that on. When Yoshi came along the kennels, he had a over 26-inch head at 17-inch tall, and then Magoo beat that at 15 inches tall with a 26-inch head, and Kaza at 14 and a half inches tall, 15 approximately, a little shorter than Magoo, not much, maybe half an inch, but he had the same size head. And Bean did it again at 14 inches and a half at 26-inch head, and there comes all the new dogs. Beanstalk at 14 inches and a 27 and a half inch head, and Nemesis at 15 inches and a 28-inch head, and so on and on and on. And I can go on. Yuki, 15 inches, 28-inch head. So we have the largest heads as well for the height of our dogs, as well as they're extreme and functional all around. So that is the look that Muscletone has. You recognize it. You recognize the mascara that comes from Stella. You recognize the bone and the wrinkles on the bottom of the ankle. You recognize the structure of the dog, and you know it for its health. You know it for its behavior, very mellow, no aggression. There's so much detail to our bloodline that took tweaking and years of working with, that you guys don't even realize, that you guys sleep on thinking, oh, it was just easy. It was just two pair of dogs together. It was not easy. It was a lot of work and a lot of time. The temperament we have, if you knew how many dogs got fixed, how many got put down just for growling at a child or being aggressive with other dogs that didn't get bred, we just ended it. Their offsprings included, starting over, and they were phenomenal dogs that you guys would die and to just have in your yard and breed. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy to make those decisions, but we did, because it was very important for us. We're breeding family dogs and we're selling for big numbers. We don't want a problem like that. We don't want aggressive dogs. So our dogs are so mellow. You could see in many videos in stack-offs where dogs are aggressive and attack our dogs, and our dogs don't break their stack. That's just not training. That's temperament. They're just calm and relaxed. There's a video of Yoshi once upon a time out there. Not Yoshi, Toshi, sorry. Yoshi and Stella's son, which is Magoo's cousin, I would guess, right? Same mom, different dad. He's a freaking monster, and he had pigeons landing on him. He couldn't care less. He was not going to bite them, attack them, nothing. And I know a lot of you guys out there go, oh, I want a dog with drive. And that's fine. You want a dog with drive, then the American Bully is supposed to be a strong breed, but not an aggressive breed. And I made sure that my line, now you guys breed whatever line you want, that our line here at Muscletone was not aggressive in any shape, way, or form. I want it to be a line that gets along with everyone. And don't confuse it. It's a very confident breed. Muscletone's confident dogs. They go around, they pee everywhere, they mark their territory, they walk their chest up, their tail's always wagging. They're very playful, but they're not aggressive. Okay, so there's a difference between, I find aggression in dogs not a sign of confidence, but a sign of weakness and fear. Because dogs, like humans, attack what they fear. They respond with aggression because they're scared, not because they're proud and confident. So confidence isn't a dog that can actually behave and stand tall, but yet don't need to bark and bite or growl. Now, don't get me wrong, Apollo has a little more drive than the average dog in him that we have here. He doesn't attack or anything like that, but if a dog stands up to him, he's not standing back. Neither is Beanstalk or King Kong, to be honest, but they're never growling, they're never attacking, and in the heat of the moment, if I call them, they respond and they come back. They don't go black like a lot of the old dogs. So this is all part of our bloodline. So understand that this is something that we built for years and generations. So it wasn't just the look, it wasn't just the health, it was also the temperament. So all of these things make a bloodline. You have to decide what your goal for your bloodline is and work your way towards it if you're building a new bloodline. And if you claim you have one, what are the traits of your bloodline? So we just gave you the traits of ours. Ours is an extreme massive dog. We're known for the extremeness. And mostly within the extremeness, we're known for our rears, our chest, our heads, shoulders, neck, and muscle, which is pretty much the whole entire dog. Second one is our health. They live a long time, and they're very, very functional and very healthy. Number 3 is temperament. We have incredible temperament. They're very calm and docile. They get along with children and other pets. And dogs, especially dogs, because usually when you have aggression with this breed, it's usually with other dogs. So these are the 3 main characters, and we've broken down slowly amongst them, that make Muscletone. You recognize our look. Well, obviously we have a particular trait that you could see even like in the mascara of the eyes and all that as well. Those are other attributes that you can recognize Muscletone with. But these 3 things I named are the main factors of Muscletone. So you could see different traits in different lines. I know I recognize them very often in other bloodlines. So if I see a dog that's Razor's Edge, old school Razor's Edge, I recognize it for certain traits. As I recognize Marco's dogs, as I recognize Midwest Monsters dogs, as I recognize Eminent Bullies dogs. So, and there's other bloodlines, guys. I'm just mentioning a few here. Don't feel affected or insulted if I didn't mention your line. It's just there's others. I'm just making some examples. So I hope that this sums it up and gives you guys an understanding of what a bloodline should be, understanding a little bit more what muscle tone bloodline is on its own, and understanding that anyone who's built a line with this much tweaking and consistency for so many years deserves the respect that they deserve. You guys gotta give them that, because it took a long time to get there, and it wasn't for them, you wouldn't have the product you have today to build on. When we started, we didn't have as good of a product as you guys have. It's a gift that's been handed to you guys by the OGs. Give them the respect that's due. I see a lot of people hating and talking smack on some of the OGs and this and that. Don't do that. Even if they don't have a look you like today or something that you don't appreciate what they did, because it wasn't easy. And I would challenge that most of you would quit before getting that far, especially given the tools that we had at that time. So, that being said, this sums up our episode for today. If you guys have any questions, reach out to us, let us know, and please follow us on Muscletonebullys on YouTube to watch more of our episodes, and see you guys later.